In Music We Trust has kind of evolved. What exactly is it now?
Well, right now it's a management company and a publicity company, as well as a record label. We started out as an online magazine in 1997. We launched July 5th, 1997, as an online magazine. And then from there, I started doing publicity for bands because I really wanted to start a record label, but didn't have a lot of money, and figured if I learned to do publicity myself, I could do publicity for my label.
Yeah.
So I had some friends that were publicists because I had a magazine, and I knew publicists, and I was a journalist. So I made friends with publicists, and they helped me out and kind of put me under their wing, took me under their wing, if you will, and showed me the ropes. And then I started doing publicity. And a couple years after doing publicity, I started my record label, all under the In Music We Trust umbrella, and did that for well, 10 years. At 10 years, I stopped doing the magazine, and then publicity and the record label was keeping me super busy, so I kept doing that.
Yeah.
And in 2010. I decided to get into management. So, or 2009, I decided to get into management. So I started managing bands. I've been focusing a lot on management, but also still really focusing on PR because that's what pays the bills.
Yeah.
But the magazine, unfortunately, has kind of been on hiatus since then.
Yeah. How about the label?
Label's still active. It's not as active as it used to be. We were doing about, since our inception in 2001 as a label, we were doing 4 to 6 releases a year. Now I'm doing about 2 releases a year.
Yeah. So you got a show at Doug Fir this weekend.
Yes, I do.
Who's in it?
It's Spirit Lake CD release show, and that's Travis, formerly from Marigold. That's how I know him. Back when Marigold was around in the late '90s, I did a lot of coverage for them and In Music We Trust, and you know, always kind of kept abreast of what the guys were doing.
Yeah.
So Travis has this new band, Spirit Lake, and it's their CD release show. And the other 2 bands on the bill are. Travis actually put the bill together.
Yeah.
I gave him the slot for a CD release show, so he put it together. And the other 2 bands, I'm gonna have to embarrassingly look right now to refresh, is Hawkeye and Souvenir Driver, which I am actually not familiar with those 2, but I will be checking them out on Sunday.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of people really don't know the industry very well about what the roles are and who does what. What exactly do you do as a publicist?
As a publicist, I sit with the band. First and foremost, we sit down, we talk, listen to their music, and then through talking to them, I try to figure out kind of what their story is or their angle is so we can shape a story and pitch them to the press. Instead of just being like, hey, here's a new band with a new record, which theoretically every band at one point is a new band, and every band at one point has a new record. Yeah. There's nothing really special or unique there. So I sit down with the band to kind of figure out their story, their angle, and then we shape a press release and a story to pitch to to journalists, and then I pitch the bands to journalists for coverage. Whether it's a new record and we kind of make the story about the new record and the conception of the new record, or it's a band that's on tour and has an interesting story. They tour in a Vegemobile or
a Vegemobile?
I've had bands tour in Vegemobiles, you know, pure vegetable oil.
Yeah.
I call them Vegemobiles. Or one guy. I didn't do press room. A friend of mine had one, and he called it the meth bus.
So who are you handling right now?
Right now, management-wise or PR-wise?
Both.
PR-wise, right now, I'm handling press for Rachel Taylor Brown. It's gonna take me a second.
Who we did an interview just like this with a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's brain fart right now. Okay, there's Rachel Taylor Brown, All the Apparatus.
Oh, yeah.
You familiar with them? Yeah, of course you are. Let's see here. Sometimes I'm just lost without my data in front of me. Be like,
That's okay.
Did he write about him? Used to be really good at remembering it all. Now I'm like, need the technology in front of me. Okay.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Do you have to like the band in order to take them on?
Absolutely, yes.
You do?
In my early days, I took on a band. It was Russell Crowe's backing band. They were called Ether. Took them on. The manager called me, sent me the record. I'm like, I don't like the record.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I want to hire you. And I'm like, I don't like the record. I just don't like the record. But she was really sweet and nice, and her and I became friends because she was really persistent. She's like, I want to hire you. And I'm like, I don't know why you want to hire me. I don't like the record. And she's like, well, you're the only one. She's like, you wrote a really, not the most favorable, but you wrote a nice review about 30 Odd Foot of Grunts. And my review basically said, like, you're gonna bash on this band because it's Russell Crowe. You just are, but it's if you didn't know it was Russell Crowe, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's another Australian import, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's got some good songs. She's like, I really liked your Russell Crowe in the 30 odd foot of grunts review. So I really want you to do Ether because I think you'll get it even if you don't like it. So I took them on and I worked it, and it was just really hard to sell. It was just like I'd call up journalists and be like, "Did you listen to it?" And they're like, "Yeah, I didn't like it." I'm like, "Cool, me neither." And they're like, "Why are you calling me then?" So yeah, I have to like the record. I've taken on clients I didn't like personally, either because of management or record labels have hired me, and I've met the band and been like, oh, I don't like them personally, but I really like the music, so I don't let that interfere. But yeah, I have to definitely like the music.
Interesting. When you say work it, what do you mean?
Push it to journalists. Try to call them up and I mean, I hate to say this, but sell them on it. Convince them to write about it. Give them enough ammo or a story so they feel inclined to write about it. You know, a lot of that has to do with getting them to listen to it and get them to like it as well. But with so much music out there, you can get you can get journalists to listen to a record and be like, hey, I really like it. You're like, great, you're going to write about it, right? I learned this early on. They're like, no. I'm like, but you just said you liked it. Why wouldn't you write about it? And I mean, back when I started as a publicist in '99, competition was a lot less fierce. So I like it, and almost 75% guaranteed a review. Nowadays, I like it, 20% of guaranteed a review. The 80% is give them a story, give them a reason. You know. And I come in contact with a lot where it's like, I really like the record, but what's the band doing? And I'm like, oh, you know, they hang out on Northwest 23rd in Portland. You know, if you're ever in town, you can hang out with them. And they're like, oh, so they're a local band doing nothing? You know, I've got 100 bands that are touring and working their ass off. I think I'm going to give them the press instead. They deserve it more. Or I think I can help them more with the press rather than writing about a band that's not touring. So I come in contact with that a lot. So you got to find really creative ways to sell them on it, get them to cover it.
What do you think of the scene right now?
In Portland?
Yeah, in Portland.
I think it's really strong. I mean, it's getting a lot of national attention because of some bands, like the Decemberists, being probably one of the biggest bands in the nation, I'd say. They're doing quite well, and they made a really quite strong record with their last record. And they're getting a lot of press because they're taking time off now at the height of their popularity. That always works for bands. I'm not saying that's why they're doing it, but it works. It's an angle, it's a story. Like we were talking about, you know, something unique about them. They're at the height of their popularity, and they're going to take time off. But there's a lot of strong, good bands here, and I think a big problem several years back was there was a lot of these pockets of bands and people and these little scenes, but none of them were integrated. They were all just separate. Whereas in the early to mid '90s, when we really thrived, it was a lot more connected, a lot more just intertwined. All these little scenes, bands played together that didn't exactly sound like each other. And I think Portland's getting a lot back to that.
Okay, Mr. Publicist, who do you want Oregon Music News to write about next?
Who do I want Oregon Music News to write about next?
Yeah.
You know, it's a hard one because I mean, I have other clients. I didn't finish that list, but you know, all of them. But you know, one over the other, it's hard to say because I mean, they're like your children. Not necessarily. I mean, that's really weird to say. Because they pay me and I work for them, and then they, you know, the campaign's over and you know, whatever. But let's see, what do I have coming up here? You know, sorry, I'm a little crazy. Weird when you're talking to someone and there's a camera in your face.
That's okay.
But you've written about most. I mean, you've written about most of my local bands. So
True.
Let's see. Okay. I'm trying to think. In September, I know I have 2 CD release shows. That I'm working. That I've got press releases out for. Have you guys covered the Water Tower Bucket Boys?
There you go.
We've got an EP they're going to come out with, and I was talking to them last night about when we're going to do a CD release show for it. It'll probably be in October.
Why should we do them, Alex?
Because they're great. They're young. They've got a hip bluegrass folk indie sound, which is really popular right now. And I mean, they're diversifying it. They're really adding their sound and coming to their own. I mean, they're equal parts. You know, they can do Bill Monroe, but they can also do Mumford and Sons.